Welcome back to our OPS typing class. Today's class is going to be on YouTuber Elizabeth Filips. Now, if you typed Ali Abdel, you may have come across Elizabeth in some of his videos, as she has been working for him as his assistant and in other roles for some time now. Now, I know we've said this before, but we've been learning to type for the last couple of years, and more recently we've actually been having additional coaching from Shan from Objective Personality, and we've been typing these additional celebrities. So the celebrity that you see in this class has been officially confirmed by Shan. And as we've also said before, we want to share our typing journey from the student's perspective and just kind of share where we struggle and how we are learning to improve.
As always, let's start the typing process with acknowledging our biases. So I watched Elizabeth Filips here and there before we properly typed her, and so I had a bias of what type she might be, and I think it was in the vicinity of NETE, because she seemed very theoretical, she seemed kind of chaotic, and like she likes to gather and connect stuff, which we will show in one of the clips. And I was also thinking she seems sleep last, because she talks 100 miles an hour all the time, and she's just a crazy production machine.
I'd come across Elizabeth on YouTube quite a while back, and I really enjoyed the content of her videos because it was a very kind of INTJ approach to productivity, philosophy, minimalism, and a whole bunch of other topics. And if we're just going by visual bias, my bias was that she was an ENFP. Red hair seems to cluster in ENFPs as well. And I was consistently seeing a kind of TE/thinking side of her in all of her videos. So I had a very similar bias to you, actually.
The first comment we're going to look at is OE versus OI. And because we want to be diligent and type properly, we don't want to go off of the definition we might have in our head, but actually go to the website and look at the proper definitions of OE versus OI to kind of load our brain with what we're actually looking for. So Savior OE is channel changing, will see, wants control, but doesn't actually do it. In comparison, Savior OI is has a way, tells the same story, concludes and narrows down, and shoves away the new. As we already admitted, our bias was that Elizabeth would be Savior OE, and it was unfortunate that our bias was same, so we kind of didn't correct each other that way. But where does this bias come from? Like, to admit it, we fell for the same kind of anecdote that troubled us with Ali, that she sometimes describes herself as chaotic, that she lives a chaotic lifestyle, that she tries to have a chaotic schedule, stuff like that. And there was a video early on that I watched where she just seems to like gathering concepts and connecting all kinds of concepts, and that left a lasting impression on me that just created this bias that I had a really hard time shaking. But let's take a look at the clip.
When I take notes from a book, I will finish reading the book, and then I will take every single sentence or paragraph that I've highlighted and create a different source for it. Then I'll connect the source to its relevant concepts. And very importantly, one source will go to many, many different concepts. This is where this becomes supercharged. This note, for example, is connected to 6 different sources. It can be connected to a lot more. And the more of them you connect with one another, the more beautiful concepts you have.
So in this clip, she talks about how she likes to consume in a way, and she likes to gather sources and create connections and gather concepts. So she's literally spelling out any, but there's also a lot of planning going in on the front end, because she has set up a system to gather all her sources and do the connections like physically or at least digitally in one specific way.
And we know that Elizabeth is a content creator, so one thing that actually really helped us was to have a look at her YouTube channel and take sort of like a zoomed out approach on what topics is she processing, what kinds of videos is she putting out, are there any repeating topics, and this gave us a good indication of whether she was OE or in fact whether she's OI.
Okay, so here we have Elizabeth's channel. Let's look at the videos that she usually does. Okay, photographic memory system for remembering anything. Okay, going to the gym, deep focus, sounds very much connected to systems, discipline, something about scheduling is here. More discipline, exactly.
There's another system.
Another system. Again, something about scheduling, just 3 months apart. Okay, how many videos about scheduling do we have to do within that few months? Again, something about discipline, going to the gym, more discipline, soft discipline this time. Another video about scheduling. So it very much sounds like that she talks about control topics like systems, discipline, scheduling. And
also being consistent, and you'll see method a lot
Yes.
used in her videos as well.
And then she talks about the same topics again and again. So it feels like double OI topics, and she OIs OI topics, so to speak. So maybe this really isn't randomness and openness. Okay, so while we caught moments where she sounds like she might be savior OE, when we zoom out and look at her channel and her entire portfolio, it looks very much OI-like. And she's really obsessing over like finding the perfect control, especially with these scheduling videos. So there, our bias was not on point. She's actually savior OI. But we were also thinking she was NT. And this is what we really kept hearing, just about frameworks and theoretical methods to apply to scheduling and control. But let's look at a clip to really see, is this SI or NI?
It would be a strong desire of mine to want to be a doctor and to want to be in hospital.
But would you still do it?
That's where that's where it's slightly an issue.
Okay, because if it's a strong desire, then why wouldn't you do it?
Because I think,
Like, why live a life not doing what you want to do?
okay, so let's use, for example, the fact that the reason I wanted to be a doctor was because I wanted to be a surgeon. And I would always say I would never be any kind of other type of doctor except surgeon. If I don't get into surgery, I'm leaving medicine, I'm finding another job, because all I want to do is be a surgeon.
Right.
Because I love surgery. I love the environment, I love the vibe, I love the it's just a project that you start and you finish, and it's just a whole different scene. I'm in surgery and I'm so energized and just alert, and it's so much fun, and that hasn't worn off for me yet, so I really, really love that. But I think when I started to see how much work it takes to go into surgery, and I say this and I sound horrible, it's not, I don't generally shy away from work, so it's but it's the sort of lifestyle that you need to have in order to become a successful surgeon. It has so many sacrifices that you need to do. And back when I used to think that, I don't want a family and I don't want to have children, I thought this would be perfect. But then when that completely flipped the other way and I thought, no, I really, really want a family and I really, really want to have children, then surgery quickly became a non-viable option. So I think medicine is kind of the same now. So even though it's my desire or my dream would be, I want to be a surgeon in a theatre, I don't want to make the sacrifices that it would take for that moment. To have that moment, if
interesting.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So the destination you have in mind is being a surgeon in theatre, but the journey towards getting there, you're not fully sold on whether it's for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
In this clip, Elizabeth uses her intuition to make a decision. So is she using NE or NI? Generally, when people with NE use their intuition, they're always like one step ahead, where NI is much better able to stack guesses far further into the future. NE just doesn't really think about that, but that's what Elizabeth is doing to plan her life. She's thinking about like all the implications that she would go through if she decided to be a surgeon, like far ahead into the future, like what kind of work it would be required to do that, and what her life would look like once she is a surgeon.
What sacrifices she'd have to make as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that any cannot do this, but it usually won't do this because it doesn't want to narrow down on future possibilities. She seems comfortable with that.
So if we're seeing Savior and I, we therefore need to be able to see Demon SE, or SE last in Elizabeth's case. So warning, this is a little bit of a joke clip, but let's have a look at this. And this is a pretty, I guess, common example of something that we see the SE last do.
Do I only wear black? The answer to which is yes. Although technically this is a random decision that I made 7 years ago, it has turned out to be something that I have kept implemented in my life because I feel as though it gives me a lot of benefits. So if you are curious in any shape or form, in this video I will explain just why I started to do this, the benefits that I have to wearing a single colour, and lastly what my plans are for the future.
Okay, so as she states, this is a decision that she made 7 years ago and something that she easily stuck with. I mean, come on, this is something that I would never be able to stick with for 7 years. And she quite easily goes through her reasons for why she decided to do it, and then also her plans for the future again.
Yeah, and she randomly decided she wanted to do that just like every other person of her type. Sure.
Yeah. So we see that she is systematizing her sensory by reducing the number of colors that she has to 1 to limit the number of decisions that she needs to make around what to wear. So again, it's another systemizing / OI style thing. But where this differs from SI is that usually SI is not concerned about number of colors. It's more I guess, concerned with like number of items, possibly. So she's trying to just reduce the extra sensory that she has to deal with.
So yes, our initial biases were wrong. Elizabeth is in fact Savior NI with Demon SE. Holly already alluded to it. She is in fact an observer, so she has NI first, which, just look at her YouTube channel again, it's all about scheduling and control. There are some things about like friends and dealing with people and emotions, but the control issues seem the most prevalent overall. But for a cross-check, let's take a look at a clip where she does some double deciding.
The fourth framework that I love using is thinking about what kind of person I am around this certain friend. And this has to do both with my internal experience and with my outwards expression. How quiet or how energetic or how loud or how nice or how mean or how generous or how funny I am really depends on the person that I am with. And it's helpful once in a while to kind of rethink and recalibrate this behavior, because there's been people with whom I feel that I've been the worst of myself and the worst person I can be, that I am still deeply ashamed about. And I still bring these things up in therapy again and again, because I genuinely cannot get over the thoughts that I have had for other people, or the things that I have said, or the wants that I have had. I really can't get over it. And I take full accountability for those thoughts and my behaviors.
I hope you caught that she's again talking about another NI framework in this video, but this time it relates to friends and connections, and it was something that she processed in therapy. And she talks about how she can seize like all parts of herself, like the good parts, the bad parts, and how she's different with other people, so how different people influence that. And she talks about shame and guilt, and she processed that openly out loud in this digital public space. So she isn't too weird about unpackaging the struggles with people, and she actively engages with creating some balance and resolving these issues.
So as Felix already pointed out, Elizabeth is an observer. She's lead NI, making her an IJ. But let's have a look at what flavor of IJ this is. So before we jump into this, let's go back over the definitions of DI, Savior DI, versus Savior DE. Savior DE is the we story. They'll drag others in. There's a void in what they want, and they'll often feel like they are not allowed. In comparison, Savior DI is a me story. It'll be talking about what they want, they're always allowed, and they leave the tribe behind. One thing that we see consistently with Elizabeth is that she is quite easily and consistently giving her reasons for everything. In every video, she is giving her reasons for why she's doing something, for why she likes something, for what she struggles with. Like she's just a reason machine, non-stop reason machine. Now in this next clip, we're just going to set the scene a little bit by saying that she is in an interview with Ali Abdaal. Now Ali we've already typed as audio, NI, sleep, blast, consume, play. So this is just a comparison for DI versus DE.
What's the most annoying thing about each other? It's irritating habit.
I think your most irritating habit is just like how warm and enthusiastic you are. It makes me feel very inadequate about my own kind of energy that I bring to interactions.
Why are you giving these sort of responses? Now you make me feel bad. I'm so honest with these questions.
You can say what you like.
Oh, Ali. Oh, my most annoying habit about you is your lack of habits with email responses or like message responses in general. I wish you had like message responses.
What a personal assistant is supposed to be for.
Message responses. I feel like you had more of a habit in place in terms of answering those in a reasonable time. Would be nice.
Fair play. I mean, my theory on this is that if anything is genuinely urgent, you can call me, and if not, then I will get to it when I see it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's true. Okay. Thank you for making me feel terrible.
No, that's quite right.
So what we're seeing here is Elizabeth blaming Ali for making her feel bad. So this is a Savior DE who is not taking responsibility for her DI or her emotions, just not taking responsibility for her own feelings and blaming the person next to her.
But let's cross-check that more fully. Do we find even more indications that she is demon feeling and demon DI? But it's so perfect that she actually has a video called How I Deal with My Emotions. Let's take a look.
Now, I'm a very emotional person, which has its benefits. It means I get very passionate about things, I love to connect and help people, and also it means I can feel very intense pleasure. But on the flip side, when negative emotions are there, I also feel them very strongly and very deeply. So throughout my life, I've always tried to find ways to kind of minimize the pain of negative feelings when they are there. And I've developed a few frameworks which kind of help me rationalize, understand, and cope with my negative emotions.
The pain is in the mind.
I wanted to share one of these today. I just want to warn you in advance that it may make absolutely no sense, in which case, I'm sorry for wasting your time.
She starts out by describing herself as a very emotional person who experiences negative and positive emotions very deeply, which sounds very much like FI talk. And you might even mistake it for savior FI talk, but then she goes on to saying that she struggles with emotions, and then comes the very typical thinker talk, that she wants frameworks and tools to figure out like how to rationalize, how to understand her emotions. So she very much struggles with negative emotions. She's afraid of them. It's not a given that she owns them, and she wants to use thinker tools to do it better and to figure the emotions out. So yes, Elizabeth is in fact demon feeling and demon DI.
Right, so now we have Elizabeth as NITE. So let's now look at her animals. We know that she is blast first, but what have we got next?
Do you want to tell the story?
Oh, yes, let's do the story. So we met over text, Instagram DMs. I slid into your DMs.
You did?
That's the formal story, yes. So basically, okay, this is a long story. So Ali was the first celebrity that I ever followed, because I don't actually use Instagram that much. And I saw your YouTube videos, and then I followed you on Instagram because you seemed cool. This is what I thought at the time, let's just be clear. And then you were doing an Insta live in your house. This is peak lockdown, something like March 2020. And you were doing pull-ups, which is when I almost shut off the Instagram live. But I'm glad that I didn't, because then you announced that you were looking for a PA, and I just left my job at Selfridges because of the lockdown. So I was looking for a job at the time. So then I wrote you a DM. This was like 3 a.m. something like that. I wrote you a DM saying that, do you still have it?
Let me see if I can find this DM. Okay, I'll find it while you keep telling the story.
So then I just wrote, oh, hey, Ali, heard that you're looking for a PA. I'm looking for a job. Let's do it. And then I woke up kind of the next morning realizing how utterly embarrassing that was. So I sent you a legitimate email with my CV and details about why I would be a potentially good person for the role. And then you called me that night, I think. So yeah, a few hours later, Ali wrote me a DM saying that, yep, let's chat. And then you called me and I got hired on the spot, basically.
Before we get into deciphering what's going on there, let's go back over the definitions for sleep and play. So someone with savior sleep will tell the same story about themselves. They're usually pretty processed, they are resolved, and they won't jump in. Somebody with savior play will tell random stories about others. They'll be mostly unresolved, and they won't be hitting the brakes. Firstly, I just want to start by saying, who on earth applies for a job at 3 a.m? Like, why? Why would you do that? But anyway, this is a very good example of savior play. So she applies for this job, 3 a.m, no kind of thinking about it, just I'm going to apply. And then later regrets it in the morning, wakes up feeling embarrassed and horrified, and then kind of formally applies. So this is not putting on the brakes. This is not processed on the front end. This is just jumping at an opportunity in a very kind of play style manner.
We've seen that Elizabeth slides into someone's DMs at 3 a.m. to just randomly apply for a job. But can we also see that she struggles with resolving certain issues and maybe need to do some more processing?
I don't know if everyone has more insight into me than I do, or if everyone is just making fun of me, because the general reaction to that is, sure, yeah, you're going back.
Do you see yourself actually quitting, or more like actually taking a break?
I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. I think initially I thought I am going to take a break, and I have waves of really, really missing medicine now. My flatmate is a doctor, so he comes back from hospital, and I have a mixture of, oh, this is so great that I'm not doing this, and a mixture of, oh, I miss this so much. So there's parts of it that I miss a lot, and then there's parts of it that I think, oh, do I really want to do that again?
Okay, what are the parts that you miss?
I miss generally just being in hospital. I miss being around patients. I miss kind of the banter and the vibe in hospital. I miss kind of the friendships. I miss even some things that I didn't like at the time, like being scared of consultants or signing my portfolio. I think it's just that part is funny and fun. But mostly, I think it's the learning, and how much I changed as a person in medicine was very, very big and very fast. I think even just if I would have one good day of placement where I'm actually given a patient and given attention, I changed so much. And I kind of miss that.
Okay. If you were, hypothetically, able to make, let's say, 100K a year off of teaching people how to use Notion, or stuff like that.
This discussion between Ali and Elizabeth is called the moral dilemma of quitting med school, which is something that Elizabeth is struggling with because she hasn't quite made up her mind if she wants to leave medicine for good or if she maybe go back at that point. And this is also a decision that Ali has already made for himself that he is resolved on. In the beginning of the clip, Elizabeth even indicates there is something about her that she doesn't quite see, but she feels like others see about herself. And yes, Elizabeth, others like Ali are seeing your missing sleep. So Ali keeps pressing her about her reasons and her processing and wants to help her to get to a conclusion and asks for the open ends basically to narrow down eventually. And she gives him her reasons, but you really see she can't narrow it down yet. She just hasn't made a decision and she struggles really to do so.
We keep saying how much social type influences how someone's OP type presents itself. And in this case, Elizabeth's social type can make her seem slightly more introverted, slightly more sleepy, slightly more DI. So that is the coin that we're going to look at next, is what is her social type. We've already seen that Elizabeth has a very professional vibe to how she presents herself. She has a certain persona and she wants to be seen in a certain way. So this is kind of what Felix is about. Felix wants to be professional, wants to kind of control how they're viewed by other people, and she doesn't want the kind of messy bits of herself to be put out on the internet, which is different to Ali, who just doesn't seem to care. Earlier when we were looking at Elizabeth double deciding, Felix mentioned that she had made a video on friendships.
Struggling with friendships.
A whole video on friendships, which is a little bit weird, something that Savior friends do not usually do.
I wouldn't do that.
I might, maybe. I don't know.
We'll see.
Imagine that you're going to the supermarket and you walk up to the cashier. You're pretty confident how this interaction will go. You know that if you say hi, they're probably going to say hello back. If you ask for a bag, they're probably going to give it to you. And you are fairly certain that they're not going to suddenly slap you across the face. This might sound completely obvious, but it describes something powerful: how much we depend on predictability in order to healthily function. It's essential for our safety to feel that some things are not a threat in the world and not have to always think about other people's reactions. Sometimes in friendships, this is not the case. What I've just described I call the Trelawney principle, the fact that there's a positive correlation between our feelings of safety in the friendship and our ability to predict our friends' behavior. This example and theory I've learned from the psychologist Dr. Kirk Honda, so if I've butchered it, please blame me and not him. I've found this framework to be the most valuable way for me to understand what exactly is wrong in those friendships where I felt good or even great mostly for a very long time, only to look back and think, how did I not realize how problematic this has always been? This is likely to be a friendship that always had low predictability. These were the friends with whom, as difficult as it is for me to not be brutally honest, I often held my tongue because I did not know how they were going to react and going to take it.
Aside from all the inti, here she is talking about using a principle or a framework in order to help her understand problematic friendships. Now, we know that kind of friendships is very often kind of a decider issue or decide a topic, but here she's sort of painting it in an observer light around not having, I guess, clarity or certainty in how people are going to behave. And she doesn't have the same ease when it comes to navigating friendships and people as someone who would be a observer / double decider and Savior friends. She's just not quite sure what the kind of social norms are when it comes to friendships and interacting with people. That is something that she is trying to figure out. And just one last point. Now, there is a priority order in this for her. She does want friendships, but this only comes after she has become the best version of herself.
Initially, both of us thought that Elizabeth would be number 3 because she seemed very attached to her specific role of being a doctor, which comes out in several discussions with Ali Abdaal. But now that we also know that she's FI, another part of her might be responsible for that attachment. So let's take a look at a clip and try to figure out what really goes on there.
But what I wanted to do always was to be that person. I wanted to be scrubbed in. I wanted to be the one, like, you know, talking to the patients. I wanted to be the one, like, doing the clerking, and even those small things, like the first reaction. That's why I love A&E and I love like surgery and stuff, because you're in the emotional bit. And that's just where I thought that there's nothing more raw and human than to be in that situation. It's such a privilege, and I'm like, I love this. And the fact that I would like work, medical school doesn't count because I'm like, medical school is like studying. That's fun for me, that comes naturally. The fact that all I need to do is just like study hard, and like that's the price you need to pay to have the training to be that person, that position, was nothing to me. But then when, you know, that was making that decision as a child, but now as an adult, there's other things that factor in and other things that I start enjoying, and it only is an issue of time. If I had 40 hours in a day, of course I would do it. If you had 40 hours in a day, would you spend doing like an 8-hour shift in hospital?
If I had medical students with me, yeah.
Okay. So it's literally for the teaching.
I like to me, teaching is far more of a calling than working as a doctor and putting in cannulas and like talking to people is. It's not that's not the case for everyone, but it certainly is the case for me. So, conclusion.
Conclusion is, I've deferred this issue for a year to deal with it then, because I think that we can't like lengthen this more, but for me it's an identity thing too. And my whole adult life or semi-adult life, I've been working to get into medicine, in medicine, and now that all goes. Yeah. And I'm literally nothing. Like a YouTuber?
100%. This is exactly what I feel.
And I can't.
But this is not an impact thing. This is a selfish thing.
This is a very selfish thing.
Yeah.
This is me being like, I can't be a YouTuber. I've never ever told anyone I'm a YouTuber in my life. Like, it's just people who already know it, or my parents who told them I'm starting YouTube. It's not a thing. It's not legit to me. Yeah. And to think that I left medicine to film myself in my bedroom with my like lights and camera.
Genuinely, this is what keeps me up at night.
As I said earlier in this clip, again, we see that she's really attached to this identity of being a doctor. She has a hard time letting that go, and it kind of almost sounds like specialist talk. But when we zoom out and look at what does she actually do overall, she's really not just a doctor. She was Ali's assistant, but she did not stay there. She actually jumped around and took on more responsibilities in his organization. Then she became actually a YouTuber herself and grew that quite a bit, and is now at about almost like 1 million subscribers. So she's a kind of more bigger YouTuber in her own right. So really what she does in her sphere of influence kept expanding more and more. And she even says that being a YouTuber, this job, is not a real thing to her. Yeah. So how is she responsible? Something about her is really attached to this identity of being a doctor, but in general she takes on more and more responsibilities that are not that real to her. It's more like a means to an end, and this is really the hallmark of being a generalist. So she is savior flex, as Holly established, and she is also savior generalize, which makes her number 1.
Elizabeth's full type is double feminine, NITE, blast, play, consume, sleep. So she's sleep last, infodom. She's not a bullshitter with the information. She is actually going to medical school, much like Ali, actually.
That's all right.
And then she is actually doing the consume and researching these topics before she creates her videos. So hence the reason she is infodom. Now to close this out, we did come across this really funny clip between her and Ali, and we thought this quite accurately describes what it's like as a DE when you see a DI neglecting the DE.
Especially someone with play last.
Yes.
What is the most awkward thing that Ali has ever asked you to do for him?
Sure. Let me think.
I would have thought the marriage inbox is fairly high on the list. Oh. Like why is this not coming to mind?
I've blocked it out and I completely forgot. It's Dan's problem now. Yeah, I think the marriage inbox is the most awkward, annoying, frustrating thing about you.
What is the marriage inbox for the uninitiated?
I apologize so much if this is the first time that you're hearing about this, but Ali decided to get married, and one of the way that he thought that the way that he thought that he would approach this was to announce on this channel and on every other social media platform that he was looking to get married, and any interested party may contact him via email, also sending a photographic proof of their existence and what they look like, and he would get back to them.
What was that email address?
marriage@aliodal.com.
Cool, just checking.
Yes, it's still open. It's still open. You can still apply. That was very, very frustrating.
Why was it frustrating?
Where do I begin? I do think that you set up false expectations. There's a lot of things that I have issues with. One is the false expectations. How many emails did you respond to?
I didn't say I'd respond to people.
Oh, okay. But I don't think you made it clear in the beginning what would happen, because I think some girls took this very, very seriously. They sent like videos of themselves.
Really?
Yes, YouTube videos that they've edited,
Okay.
like applying for you. They sent like very detailed essays. They're all in your marriage tab.
Oh,
I forwarded you some of these on Slack.
I need to look at this more often.
Yeah. So people take it very, very seriously.
Okay.
And then they follow up with 4 emails like, Ali, why aren't you answering? Because they think the way that you say it is not that, oh, I have this email inbox that my personal assistant will see, and maybe I'll check these once in a while, and I'm going to probably ignore all of her Slack messages with links to your videos and ignore her prompts for these emails. And chances are 1 in a million that will actually see this, but if you want to apply. But by you saying, oh, I have a marriage email, email me, it sounds as though you're opening a contact with you, a path to contact you, which actually doesn't exist. And that can be very hurtful for people who are saying that, why did you not like me? What is wrong with me? I sent you all of this, why are you not following up? And that very, very much frustrated me. I was extremely awkward.
Okay.
Also, I think there's a power dynamic in being a celebrity and wanting to opening yourself up to dating other people. I think there's perhaps things that you should consider that come into play, wherein people think that they know you, or perhaps know a lot more, definitely know a lot more about you than you know about them.
Sure.
And I think that needs to be navigated with a bit more delicacy than perhaps you give to the topic at all. So I think you're very like casual about it, which I guess is fine, but when others' feelings are involved, then I get frustrated with you.